What if the janitor you ignored turned out to be the key to your greatest success, or your ultimate downfall? At Zenith Tech, one of New York City's most influential tech hubs, where power suits held sway and the cleaning crew was just part of the scenery, something extraordinary was brewing. The company's future was about to collide with an unexpected twist, and one arrogant CEO was about to learn the hard way that underestimating the wrong person can cost everything. Grab your coffee and settle in for this captivating tale. Zenith Tech was a fast-pacing empire where million-dollar deals were sealed in glass offices overlooking the city skyline. Employees bustled about like cogs in a high-functioning machine, each driven to keep up with the relentless momentum. But on this particular day, someone new walked through the doors. Her name was Emma Hayes. To the rest of the office, she was just another cleaner. Nothing more than the woman with the cart, blending into the background. She wore the standard cleaner's uniform, a plain blue shirt, black slacks, and sneakers. Her hair was tied neatly back, and her expression was calm but focused. What no one knew was that Emma wasn't just a cleaner. She was the actual owner of Zenith Tech. Years ago, she had handed control of daily operations to her brother, Peter Hayes, who served as the public face of the company. While Peter occasionally popped in to manage board meetings, Emma had stayed out of the spotlight. Now she had returned, disguised, on a mission to see the truth about how her company was being run. It didn't take long for her to see the cracks. The biggest one? Jackson Moore, the acting CEO. Jackson was tall, impeccably dressed, and carried an air of superiority that made it clear he thought he was untouchable. He treated anyone below his level like they didn't exist, and to him, Emma was no exception. On her very first day, while she mopped the floor outside his office, Jackson stopped mid-stride and sneered. "Hey, new girl," he barked, gesturing at the spotless floor. "You missed a spot. Don't slack off on your first day." Emma looked up with a polite smile and nodded, continuing her work. But Jackson wasn't done. He leaned closer and smirked, his tone dripping with condescension. "Lucky for you, we hire just about anyone these days. Try not to blow it." Emma kept her cool, but inside she was livid. "This is how he talks to people in my company?" she thought. But for now she stayed quiet. There was more to uncover. Over the weeks, Emma watched and learned. Most of the employees were hardworking and driven, eager to contribute to Zenith Tech's success. But the problem wasn't with them, it was with those at the top. Jackson Moore was at the heart of it. His ego was massive, and he treated junior staff like disposable tools. He barked orders without so much as a please, and only acknowledged his equals, or those who could benefit him. Then there was Diana Caldwell, head of marketing, who had a knack for making snide remarks to anyone outside her inner circle. She made it clear that she believed her presence was a gift to the company. And don't forget Henry Sparks, the head of finance, who thought the company's budget was his personal bank account. But Jackson's behavior toward Emma? That was on another level. He often lingered too long in her vicinity, offering backhanded compliments that weren't fooling anyone. "You're too pretty to be pushing a mop," he remarked one afternoon. "Stick around, and maybe I'll help you find something better." Emma gritted her teeth and let it slide. She had bigger plans. One evening, Jackson cornered her in the break room, his voice lowered to a patronizing whisper. "Listen, Emma," he said, his eyes narrowing. "You want to make your life easier here? Maybe it's time you learned how to play the game. If you don't—" He paused, letting the threat hang in the air. "Well, let's just say, jobs like yours aren't hard to replace." Emma stayed calm, her face betraying nothing. Jackson had no idea he was threatening the woman who signed his paychecks. She wanted to call him out then and there, but she knew she needed more time. In her nightly debriefs with her brother, Emma shared her findings. "It's worse than I imagined," she told Peter. "Jackson and his crew are driving this company into the ground." Peter nodded. "Keep going. When you're ready, we'll set things straight. The final straw came when Jackson cornered Emma in the parking garage one night. "Be in my office after hours," he said with a smirk. "Or you can clean out your locker tomorrow morning. Your choice." That was it. Emma was done. The next morning, she walked into Zenith Tech, but not as a cleaner. She wore a tailored white blazer, sleek black pants, and sharp heels. Her presence turned heads as she strode through the lobby, her expression fierce. By the time she reached Jackson's office, a crowd had gathered, including board members and senior staff. Emma didn't waste a second. "Good morning, everyone," she said, her voice commanding. "Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Emma Hayes, the founder and owner of Zenith Tech." The room fell silent. Jackson's face turned pale as the weight of his mistakes hit him. Emma smiled coolly. "We need to talk." Her hair was sleekly styled, and her aura radiated authority the moment she stepped into the building. Paul had called for an urgent meeting with the board of directors and the entire leadership team, ensuring every key figure was present, including Jeff. When Emily entered the grand conference room, Jeff looked up, puzzled at first. He shot her a dismissive glance, which quickly morphed into an arrogant smirk. "Lost, sweetheart?" he asked with a tone dripping in sarcasm. "This meeting's for management, not housekeepers." Emily didn't flinch. She strode to the head of the table, her heels clicking with purpose, and stopped next to Paul, who sat at his usual seat of authority. Paul cleared his throat, silencing the low murmur of confusion among the board. "Before we begin today's meeting," he began, "I'd like to make an introduction. It's long overdue." The room stilled. Curiosity etched on every face. Paul gestured to Emily with a slight nod. "This," he said, his voice laced with pride, "is Emily Dawson, the true founder and owner of SpinTech." You could hear a pin drop. Jeff's smirk faded into a slack-jawed expression of disbelief, the color draining from his face as the weight of the revelation hit him. Emily locked eyes with him, her calm expression betraying none of the fire brewing inside her. "For the past several months," she began, her voice steady and commanding, "I've been working undercover in this company as a cleaner. My goal was simple: to observe, to listen, and to uncover the true culture within these walls." Jeff opened his mouth, likely scrambling for an excuse, but Emily wasn't about to let him off the hook. "What I found was alarming," she continued, her sharp gaze sweeping the room. "Disrespect, abuse of power, and a complete disregard for the values I'd built this company on." Jeff finally managed to blurt out, "Ms. Dawson, I didn't know. I had no idea." "Exactly," Emily cut him off, her voice rising slightly. "You had no idea who I was, and that's precisely the point. You didn't treat me, or anyone else, like a human being, let alone someone deserving of respect." Paul stood, his tall frame adding gravity to Emily's words. "Jeff Matthews," he said, his tone cold, "your time at SpinTech is over. Effective immediately, you're fired. And rest assured, your actions won't go unaddressed. Legal proceedings are already underway." Jeff's shoulders slumped, the weight of his downfall visibly crushing him. 2 security guards entered the room, their presence finalizing his dismissal. As they approached to escort him out, Emily stepped closer to the table, addressing the room. "For those of you who have upheld integrity in your roles," she began, her tone softening just enough to offer hope, "your dedication hasn't gone unnoticed. But for those who have contributed to the toxic culture here, let this serve as your warning. Accountability is no longer optional." The atmosphere in the room shifted. A few board members fidgeted uncomfortably, knowing they were next on the chopping block. Emily didn't hesitate to list their names, each announcement cutting like a blade through the tension. Miss Theobald, who had bullied her subordinates relentlessly, was dismissed without ceremony. Mr. Carter, whose embezzlement of company funds had been quietly tolerated for years, was terminated on the spot. As the dust settled, only a handful of leaders remained, their faces a mixture of relief and determination. Emily's piercing gaze softened as she addressed them. Spintech was built on the principles of innovation, respect, and collaboration, she said, her voice resonating with newfound purpose. Starting today, we're returning to those roots. This company will thrive, not because of titles, but because of the people who truly care about its success. Applause broke out among the remaining staff. The employees who had once sneered at the new cleaner now looked at her with admiration and awe. Emily had reclaimed her throne, not as a figurehead, but as a leader who had seen the cracks in her empire and vowed to repair them. Under her leadership, Spintech began to flourish, shedding the toxic remnants of its past. Employees felt valued, ideas flowed freely, and respect became the foundation of every interaction. As for Jeff Matthews, his fall from grace became a cautionary tale whispered in boardrooms across the city. Karma had dealt its justice, and Spintech emerged stronger for it. Thank you for watching until the very end. If this story inspired you, make sure to like the video and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more stories that'll keep you thinking long after they're over. Have an incredible day ahead.